Welcome to My Hometown, the program that explores clubs, organizations, businesses, and issues across Nassau and Suffolk counties and sheds light on the different towns that are making a difference.
A great day to you, and welcome to another edition of My Hometown. I'm your host, Bill Horan, along with Nassau Community College student Jon Gallo. Our special guest today is Leslie Tayne, founder and managing director of Long Island financial debt law firm Tayne Law Group, PC. Leslie is an award-winning consumer and business debt-related attorney, author of Life and Debt, founder of Tayne Law Group, PC, concentrating solely in debt resolution and alternatives to filing bankruptcy for consumers, business owners, and professionals. Leslie's mission is to reshape the debt relief industry by giving clients a supportive and reliable environment built on experience, trust, and results that not only relieve clients of the stress of debts, but also the burden of the never-ending debt cycle. Today, Leslie will be discussing her advice and top tips for managing student loan debt, as well as the boomerang effect that is taking many of today's college graduates and their parents by storm. Leslie, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me today.
Leslie, I understand that today, in this year, we're seeing that more 20 to 35-year-olds are at home with their parents. Why is this, that they're living at home instead of getting out in the world after college?
What we're seeing is that college students don't have the ability financially to move out on their own. So they are moving back home with their parents for a couple reasons. We see them moving back home for the purposes of saving money to go out and be able to buy something because they don't want to be part of the rental market. And we also see many college graduates moving back home in order to pay off the debts that they accumulated during college and post-college academic experiences. So they are using that as opportunities for themselves to save money and pay off their debts sooner rather than later.
Okay. Well, according to some estimates, it seems that the average class of 2016 last year has an average of around $37,000 in student loan debt. Apparently, actually 6% higher than the year before that. How much do you think that's the reason, like you're saying, that that's why students are moving back home?
Well, the truth is that student loan debt is an epidemic in this country. And with having so much student loan debt and the requirement to pay that back within a certain amount of time after graduation and limited income, that makes it a situation where college students are forced to move back at home. They are really not even looking at the options of being able to be out there because many more students are choosing to go to private schools over public schools, and they're willing to pay the debt or take on the debt to go to those schools. They now are willing to move back home. What ends up happening is that you see the college student process early on in the decision making. Well, I want to go to a particular school. And when they're making that decision to go to a particular school, they're not really thinking about the costs associated with that school. They know it costs a lot of money, but they also know they could just simply take out a loan, or the parents can simply take out a loan. So you're also seeing college students and college graduates come back home to live because in the past, many parents were able to help fund college students when they graduate. They were giving them money to live in the city, or they were giving them money for their apartment. But now with parents taking on Parent Plus loans and additional debt themselves in order to support their kids while they're in expensive colleges, they don't have the cash flow to give to those students when they graduate. So those students are then forced to come back home and live at home.
Leslie, what are some top tips that you would give, first of all, to people perhaps looking, the parents of high school students now looking at college going forward, and those who now are in college or perhaps out of college, those 20 to 35-year-olds living at home facing all that debt?
Well, I am a parent of a freshman in college and two kids who are still in high school. So I have been through this process, and I can give the advice because this is what I've done for my own children. I started early on talking about the cost of colleges, and that started in middle school. In middle school, the kids are starting to think about their high school curriculum, and that curriculum is based on what they're going to be doing when they graduate, which is going to college. So I started talking to them about the difference between public schools and private schools, and that there is an expense and I would have to pay for school. Unlike their experience that they have, or my children had, which is they went to public school for regular school as they were growing up. They didn't go to a private school. So my children and I have had regular discussions on the cost of going to school and the situation that I would be in while they're in school, that I would have 3 children who would be in college at the same time, and that I didn't have a desire to take on debt and loans. Again, kids in high school and even college-age kids really don't understand what that means. They don't really understand what a loan means, and they really don't understand what it means to have to pay that back. They've never lived on their own and had to support themselves, so there really is a lack of understanding on how the process of borrowing money works. So it is important for the parents to have an age-appropriate discussion as early on as you can with the kids about what it means to borrow money, what it means to pay it back, what it means to how it impacts their lifestyle, that there will be sacrifices later on, like moving back home or not being able to buy a new car when they graduate because of debt-related issues. And those things, you'd have to be discussed on a regular basis. It can't be some discussion once they're in college. But again, what I see on a regular basis in my practice is that there really is more of a emphasis on what school do you want to go to? What school excites you? Do you want to go to a big school? Do you want to go to a little school? Do you want to go to a rural school? Do you want to go to a city school? Do you love the logo? Do you want to be in a Big 10 school where there's lots of fun and lots of rah-rah activity? Those are the focus and those are the questions that my kids have been asked when they were looking at college. They weren't asked, well, does it make sense for you to consider going to a public school versus a private school? So, for example, my middle daughter wants to go on to graduate school to some sort of medical field. So my feeling is that she belongs in a public institution because she's only using that as a stepping stone to get to a graduate program. My older daughter wasn't sure what she wanted to do, so she ended up in a school where she would have an opportunity to use work study as a way for her to get an opportunity in the job force out there in the real world. So when we were looking at colleges, the focus that I had with my kids wasn't just, oh, this place seems great, because when we toured schools and I would ask my daughter and all 3 of my children, what did you think of the school? They gave me the most bizarre reasons why they liked or didn't like the school. How about it wasn't close enough to a mall at one point, one of them said.
That sounds a good reason.
And it wasn't close enough to, there wasn't a lot to do there. I said, but you're not doing a lot there. You're going to school to study. Yeah. I mean, I went to SUNY Albany. So, right. You're not going there for the purpose of finding, the city of your dreams. You're going to learn and get an education and get you to the next level. And the strangest things would come out of their mouths. And even my clients, when I asked them why they chose to go to a particular school, one client of mine said, I really like the lake in the middle of the school, so I thought it was really pretty, and that's why I chose to go there. That is not the best reason to be choosing to go to school. The best reasons to go to school are, it's a business decision. When you are deciding to go to college, you are making an investment in yourself and your future. What do you think you want to do? Now, that could change. That's understandable that you might change routes. But I'm going to use one example. If you decide that you want to be a social worker, before you go to school, you should research what the average income is of a social worker. And let's say, hypothetically, for the first 5 to 10 years of that career, the income is between $40,000 and $60,000. But you plan to live in the New York metropolitan area, which a report just came out that Nassau-Suffolk County was the second highest, most expensive place to live and raise kids in the country. So if you decide you're going to live here on that, can you realistically live on that? You'll have to take 30% off for taxes, 30% off of that of what's left for your home, for your living expenses, and then you're going to look at what you have left after you look at that. And then you're going to look at your student loan debt. So if you choose to go to a school that costs $70,000 a year to get you that degree, it's $70,000 times 4 years plus the 1 year of graduate school for your MSW. And so now you're in the hole for over $300,000. Can you afford to pay that back? To put it in a calculator, divide it by what a 30-year mortgage would be, 360 months. Figure out what that payment would be a month. That's not even including interest. Can you afford that when you took off your taxes and your home? That's the decision that you need to be making when you're looking at it. And I know it sounds complicated, but it really isn't complicated. It's making a business decision about going to school, and you can get a fabulous education in a lot of different places and not pay that kind of money. But what I hear is the experience. I hear a lot of people say to me, But wait, they're not going to get the college experience, and I want my kids to have the college experience. Or I've heard my own children say to me, I want to have the experience. I know when we went to see Emory, my daughter said to me, I love it. I said, what do you love about it? What do you really love about this school? What makes you feel like you want to be here? Did you look at the courses? Tell me what you want to study. That's what I kept saying. Show me what you'd want to study here. You can have a great experience at a lot of different schools. You may have a different experience at a school like in the South versus a school in the North, or a school that's small versus big, and that may be a different kind of experience. But the truth is, there comes a point when you're going to have to pay for these decisions.
Yeah, definitely.
And you know that.
I think when they love a school, it means lots of handsome boys. I think that might be the definition.
And girls.
Yeah.
And girls.
And,
whichever preference.
right. And it also means that they love the environment.
Yeah, it seems like a lot of the issue is more people looking towards aesthetics and comforts and things that they kind of perceive what they should expect from the college process versus what they really need from a pragmatic standpoint.
But the discussion should be, and that was the original question, the discussion should be early on with the kids in middle school, high school, as a college student and going into graduate school. What is it that you want to achieve by going to a particular school? What's your ultimate goal?
Exactly,
and
that's
yes,
what it's about.
No one's discounting that they should have an experience, and no one's discounting the feeling that you get when you get to a particular school, but that has to be, I believe, balanced with that. I mean, I went to SUNY Albany. I had a great experience in the state program. I knew I was going to law school. There was no reason to spend the money on a private school. It was just a stepping stone, and like everyone said to me, it's the last school that you go to that makes the difference. And that really was true.
Exactly.
So my undergraduate doesn't have any impact today really on my career. I mean, I have a lot of camaraderie with the people I went to school with, but other than that,
in the grander scheme of things,
right?
Of course,
but cost.
Yeah, no, of course.
Leslie, I'm sorry, John, to just interrupt to our audience that if you like what you're hearing and you want to know more about making these decisions, and it certainly makes a lot of sense, just want you to know our guest today is Leslie Tayne. She is the founder and managing director of the Tayne Law Group, located in Melville.
In Melville, we have an office in Melville, Manhattan, Westchester. We have 2 offices as well, and we are expanding.
You're going to beat McDonald's pretty soon. We're all over the place. Okay. John, I'm sorry. I interrupted.
Okay, no worries. Okay, so to your point of there not being enough of a discussion and of a general knowledge base in families, and especially for students, when they are families or students applying for loans, what specifically are maybe some things that they should really be paying attention to in those terms of those kind of agreements?
Great question. What you should be paying attention to is that there is a cost to that loan. So just because you're taking a loan and they give it to you, if you're borrowing $10,000, you're not borrowing $10,000. There's a cost to the loan. You're probably going to borrow $11,000 because there is a cost to it. So you want to know what the percentage of the loan costs to borrow the money.
Yeah, the interest. Yeah.
Right. Well, it's not just the interest, because you want to know what the interest rate is going to be when the interest starts accumulating. But whoever's giving you the money, because it's still a loan from a bank or a lending institution, is charging you a percentage point for that loan. That money is rolled into the balance of the loan. So you're not borrowing $10,000. You're borrowing a little bit more than that because, again, there's a cost to that. So you always want to shop the loan. How much is it costing you to take that loan? What's the interest rate on the loan? When will I have to pay it back? Is there a time frame for me to have a grace period to pay it back? What happens if I default? Most people don't read or look at the default terms of loans ahead of time. But I'm telling you that unless you look at the default terms, because life happens and you never know if you get into a situation where you can't pay that loan, you want to know what's going to happen to you. And when you take a government loan versus a private loan, you're going to have many, many more options and more flexibility in government-backed loans than you will in private loans. Private loans are much quicker to sue you, less likely to have a grace period, less likely to have income-sensitive or income-based repayment options. So you want to take a look at that. My suggestion is before you're taking out a loan that you consult with an expert, somebody even like myself who understands these loans and can sit with you for a nominal amount of money and say, hey, this is what you need to be looking for. Because 9 out of 10 people who come to see me say, I wish I saw you ahead of time.
Yeah, I believe that.
Leslie, in fact, I was going to say that I think that's a very wise move for people if you're considering a loan, or even if your son or daughter is a freshman and maybe sophomore and that loan period is coming up. Come in to see Leslie Tayne or someone like her that specializes in this type of law. And the advice you get up front may save you, I guess, tons and tons, meaning tens of thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands later on. At this point in the show, we're going to take a brief break from my hometown on 90.3 WHPC. Our guest today is Leslie Tayne, Esquire, founder and managing director of the Tayne Law Group. And Leslie told us